Hello, I'm Ricky.
And I'm Joe, and this is the Season 2, Episode 18 of the Beer and Broadband Podcast, which, I generally kind of screw up, and kind of like doing the awkward, weird thing at the beginning is always awesome. Mm-hmm. This should come out on October 28th, 2019, if I do all the things that I'm supposed to. And that's kind of close to spoopy season, or spoopy day, very close to Halloween. So
wife is going to make me watch a scary movie tonight.
Yeah, should be fun.
No,
that's awesome.
It won't be.
So we got some non-fall beers, but we did get a stout from Ponysaurus Brewing. I went there the other day, and I bought it straight from Ponysaurus. So it says handcrafted and canned by Ponysaurus Brewing. It's in Durham, North Carolina. To be drinking. Love their cans because they're so simple. So what it says on the back is, this is an easy drinking dry stout with notes of espresso, chocolate, and burnt toffee. Sounds delicious, but how is it dry? And isn't beer wet? Yes, but this beer is dry. It's liquid, yes, dry liquid. You just have to trust us on this one. I can't read today. Let's see. Beer is delicious. Delicious is good. Good is nice. Nice is fun. Fun is exhausting. Exhausting is thirsty. Time for beer. Beer is delicious. Drink about it. And I know they have to have an ABV on here somewhere, which I didn't look up before I started doing this whole thing of reading and whatnot, because I rock like that. I don't actually see an ABV on here. So
mystery alcohol content.
Yeah, I'll look for the ABV. You start telling me what. Oh, yeah. No, it's 6.2 ABV.
Okay, yeah. I mean, it's pretty good. I'll admit it is dry. There's not a lot of sweetness to it, and that does give it a little bit of like a bittery sour taste, like at the end. But man, the coffee really comes through. I mean, that espresso is stronger in this than I think some of the coffee stouts we've actually had.
Yeah.
Like ones that are bragging about that there's supposed to be a coffee flavor. Not as strong as this one. But it's not in a bad way. Like that's pretty good.
One thing I can say about Ponysaurus is that they always kind of hit their flavors. Mm-hmm. They don't always make my favorite beers. But they make some good ones. And this is probably one of my more favorite ones.
Yeah.
I haven't had this one before. This is a nice stout, though.
It really is.
It from the can, it has some nice toffee notes. I definitely get all the coffee. It's got the bitterness. I don't really... Well, let me try it again. I'm not sure about the chocolate. Okay, there is a hint of like kind of a creamy, chocolatey flavor.
Yeah,
there.
It's almost like coca.
Yeah,
I wouldn't consider it chocolate more than I would just like that bitter coca flavor you kind of get with it. Which is still, it's good. It balances it out well. This is actually really nice.
Yeah.
I guess I don't really have anything bad to say about it. I always try and critique one thing. It's like, oh, they could do this a little bit better. But
this is super well crafted.
Yeah,
definitely. Not a bad thing at all. Mm-hmm. Definitely something, if you like stouts and you can get Ponysaurus in your area, definitely get this beer. It's totally worth it. That said, I'll let you talk about the French toast.
Yeah.
Not French toast, the Yeah toast.
So we got Gizmo's Brewworks. Yeah, toast. French toast. It's a brown ale. I'll admit, if you didn't get the reference, I didn't either until right before this podcast because Joe showed me the video. But evidently there's a comedian out there who sings a wonderful little toast song.
Yep.
We will include it in the notes.
I'll put a link in the notes, but I'll go ahead and say the guy's name right now. It's Haywood Banks does a song called Toast with an exclamation mark.
Yeah. It's pretty good. You should watch it. But this one here is French Toast Brown. It is the most important meal of the day. While a beer for breakfast may be frowned upon by some, a breakfast beer is another story. Its ability to awaken the palate for the day ahead or night is unmatched. This brown ale is far from typical. Its body is light but bready. Notes of maple syrup and sweet sugars meld with cinnamon and vanilla, creating an irresistible aroma and flavor. One sip and we think you'll agree, yeah, toast. 5.8%.
Yep. So it was a whim buy, kind of a surprise that my wife got for me. And I like, so there's another beer that's by Wicked Weed that's a French toast stout. And so she got this to kind of, as she thought I'd like it, basically. Which I do. It's not my favorite beer. It definitely has the butter and French toast flavor to it.
It does.
On the back end.
It's very sweet up front. You really get that kind of like sugar and maple syrup.
Yep.
It's a little smooth in the middle, and then you get that kind of bready, eggy kind of flavor at the end.
Yeah, it's it's a well crafted beer for what it is. It's French toast basically.
It's French toast as can. I'm not 100% sure how I feel about it. I don't like it as well as the other thing. It's not bad. There's a very interesting flavor combination of this kind of sweet and bready, but still, it's a brown ale. It's still got that bitterness to it.
I'm not sure that it would be the thing that I would choose for my whatever I'm going to do, as far as like beer goes.
Yeah, you know what? I admit it almost kind of reminds me of like burned French toast, like because not in the sense of like the bad, like oh man, it's just ruined, but like if you kind of like cook it a little bit too long and it gets like some of those like dark bits at the bottom. That's kind of what it tastes like because it's got that bitterness to it. That's still sweet.
Yeah, I don't. I don't get that, and I've drank it because I had a 6-pack. I've drank quite a few of them. I don't quite get that, but I get where you're going with that, and I could see somebody getting those flavors out of it. For me, I love French toast, but I don't really know that I necessarily want to drink French toast.
Yeah,
all the time.
It's like what's that show called? Like Young Sheldon or whatever. I watched a couple episodes over here. It's like, I love a cheeseburger. I'm not sure I'd drink a cheeseburger shake. Yeah. Like, all the flavors are still there, but it's maybe not on its optimal platform. That said, I know a lot of people that like to make French toast with a little bit of beer instead of the water, and this would go great with that since it's already got a very complimentary flavor.
Absolutely would. So not saying anything bad about it. It's a great one, and I do like the Wicked Weed French toast stout, but that has like it's a stout with some like flavoring of French toast. It's not necessarily like it doesn't taste exactly like French toast.
This is French toast, the brown ale, in a can. I mean, they nailed it. It is absolutely what it is. If
that sounds appealing to you should totally buy this. It's a well crafted beer. Greatly crafted. It's greatly crafted. It's a well crafted beer. So let's talk about Halloween tech.
Okay.
So not that I had anything in particular, but since this is like right before Halloween, I went low tech this year for Halloween. Put some decorations up front. I think you've seen them. They got some glow in the dark paint on them, things like that. But nothing like the wife was like, no doing anything particular. But I saw some things that were kind of motion controlled that I thought would be kind of neat, and might go try to pick them up. On sale the day like the morning after Halloween. But I was just wondering, is there anything, if you were going to decorate your house, would you go high tech, low tech, or just like kind of somewhere in the middle? And what would you kind of target as like the things that you do?
I like a mix. I'll admit, my family didn't really decorate that much for Halloween. Our claim to fame was my mother loves feeding people. And so she always gets like the full-size candy bars and like passes those out and everything like that. But growing up, we did have a couple of streets down a guy who did a really nice mix. Where like the outside of his house kind of had all the low-tech stuff you're used to. Like the bushes have those like fake cobweb things. Used like the cotton you spread across them. Decoration, one or two here sitting up. But he had this really big tree that was like dead. Like it was hollow on the inside, but you couldn't really see it from the other end. And he would always put some little like automated jump scare thing in it. So the kids would walk up the driveway, and because they can't see it from the front, and then when they get the right spot, it'll like a little skeleton jumps out, or like a noise comes out, or like a little fake lightning strike, or something like that. And I've always thought those are cool. Like I think if you go overboard and you use too much automation, you start getting into like the haunted house sort of territory that like you can't really do in a yard because people see it as they kind of come up. But you get like one or two little things hidden that are just like a little oof, like a little spook right there. That can be good.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. I think for me, next year, this is the first Halloween in this house. Next year, what I'll probably do is go low tech and put things, because I have like these crinolines on my fence.
Yeah.
And so I was thinking about getting some skulls and plastic skulls and painting them a little glow in the dark and like the eye and the mouth area, or maybe like some streaks on them.
Yeah.
Bloodying them up a little bit, dirtying them up, and then putting them on all the crinolines like their heads on a pike. Around like kind of the front of the house, and like maybe hanging some stuff like off my garage door that makes it like cobwebby and things like that. Getting but the thing that I was thinking about doing with the tech is getting a motion sensor set of skulls. There's like a stack of skulls I saw at a store that they're like $30, and they'll talk to you. They'll make like sounds ooh, and stuff like that, and then have like a show of like bats or something fluttering that are on a motion sensor that'll like go off the house or on the garage door or something. Something that'll be fun for kind of kids and trick-or-treaters. Because there are, I live in a neighborhood where there's supposed to be some trick-or-treaters, and I definitely see some little kids around, and so we've got everything ready for that.
Yeah.
This year we just put like a couple hay bales, like small hay bales at the front door. Some Venus, my wife, is super crafty, and she made this like lantern thing with daisy skulls. So it's like a daisy, like a fake flower with a glued on like skull in the middle of it, and it looks really cool. I think I think it's kind of fun to tech it up a little bit. I don't know, I might put some motion activated lights somewhere that do some things. Not sure, but I think my realm right now is a little bit of sound. I don't know that I want to go the full Christmas decoration, like pageantry show sort of thing.
Yeah, I get that. Because like with Christmas, it's like you put up your lights early because it's like you get to look at them like all month. Or if you're like my family, like 2 or 3 months because they don't want to take them down. But yeah, Halloween's a really like one and done thing, especially when you start talking about the interactive stuff. Because you're only going to have people walking on your property one day,
Yeah, well, so I like the nighttime interactiveness for that one day. It's kind of fun. It's worth the effort if it's something that's easy to put up and take down.
Now, I know what one guy used to do. He was a little far away, so I only ever went to his place once or twice when my parents felt like driving to a neighborhood to do trick-or-treating. But he had a garage kind of similar to yours. He'd park his cars out in the street, and then he'd set up like something inside his garage.
Yeah,
and that way it was a real easy build up, tear down, and you only really had to have it up for like the one day. And like you patch out your candy in there, but it would have like a little thing or two in it.
That's kind of neat. That might be kind of fun. Like do like a little haunted house in the garage. Yeah. I might think about that. I don't know if I want to go to that effort though.
Yeah.
If it's something that's portable and modular that I can do, maybe that'd be kind of fun.
We're doing our first year trick or treating too, and we're not going to decorate that much because we have to do the battle of what the neighbors consider appropriate. One of the things I don't think you'll have a problem with it here. It's really more of a kind of a yuppie place. I've already seen it happen in like a couple like mom groups in Cary of like, oh, well, we don't want candy. What about these apple snacks? And I'm bringing my mom up. We're 100% gonna have full size candy bars, and she's gonna be like Oprah, just passing them out. Kids come 2 or 3 times. Who cares? Full time Snickers for you. Full size Snickers for you. We got to see if there's gonna be something like, well, don't you have anything healthy for our kids?
So to battle that, we there were some really cheap toys that we bought that were like. A couple like we spent $3 and we got like a 30-pack of like little cat ears and things like that. And so if we put a little pumpkin outside that's blue to signify that we had something that's not a snack.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You got like a little neighborhood organization on that?
No, that's like a thing.
This is a thing?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
a thing.
Never knew that.
And I didn't either until this year, but the wife did. So
All right. Yeah.
yeah. Oh, by the way, I got a funny joke to tell you about the wife.
Okay.
Yeah, so some people get annoyed by you saying the wife, but that's just because they're jealous and afraid of the one wife to rule them all, and in the darkness bind them. Call back to Lord
All
of
the other
Rings.
wives to serve as the one wife.
Yeah. So that was why I said that.
Okay.
I showed that to her last night. She had a crack up about it, but anyway, so Venus looked it up, and that's like a way that you signify that you have like healthy snacks or something other than candy, and they can request that you not give candy,
Gotcha.
you give the other thing.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah. So if you wanted to do something like that, you can still have the unhealthy stuff for the kids that want that, but then for the parents, they're like, "No, we don't want to do that." You can give them.
Yeah. I knew a girl like that when I was older, because they would do like trick or treating events and stuff like that at my mom's school, and she was type 1 diabetic, so she couldn't really have a lot of candy. So what her parents would do is that they would basically use the candy as points. Mm-hmm. So they had like a little toy shop that she could like shop at with her candy afterwards to get things like that.
That's pretty neat.
So yeah, so I guess there's two ways to address it. I guess if there's a known like signaling system, you take them to just the places they won't get candy, or you kind of let them trade in their candy for something else.
Absolutely. So moving on, talking about kids and things that kids like. So you know what Sony's Vue thing is, right?
Yeah, they've got their own little streaming thing going on.
Yeah, so you can stream games to remotely, and they've had that for a while. Like it's big news now that Google's doing it, and Microsoft's talking about doing it, and had to throw in the words for the Microsoft. But it's a big deal now that other companies are talking about doing it, and people are getting on the hype train for Google. Which, being a network engineer, I absolutely know there's no such thing as negative latency.
Yeah,
that is just complete marketing speak. It's false. But they can say whatever they want to. They can do predictive AI to help you to automatically play the game for you to overcome latency issues. Yeah. But you can't have something that surpasses the laws of physics. Yeah. Latency is a measure of...
Yeah, all they can do is their best to predict, which for a single-player game probably works okay. For a multiplayer game, probably not so much. Yeah,
maybe.
Especially the more complicated ones.
So, that said, they're thinking about selling it possibly. And if they sell it and somebody tanks it, or, what about all those games or things that people bought on Vue that they had? Now, I don't know if that'll end up happening. So I'm not saying that Sony's gonna sell Vue, but to me, and this is why I wanted to talk about this, because we've talked about streaming platforms and pay to be able to access apps and stuff like that. To me, this is the epitome of software as a service for the consumer. It takes away all the consumer rights and abilities to use the things that they've paid for an extended amount of time past what or in ways that are different than what the people that made that thing originally intended. Yeah,
it does open up a lot of questions, because you're right. What if they sell it? Are their games going to be honored if they're not? What if they tank? And companies try and get around that. I think of the Disney streaming service that's coming out. They've said, oh, well, if you buy something from us and then we take it off the store, it'll still be available to you through our streaming service. But then that's the asterisk, right? Through the streaming service.
Right, exactly.
So what if the streaming service goes under? Are you going to mail me copies of physical DVDs?
Yeah.
Probably not. They're just going to go away. And yeah, it's really up there with the way like software goes nowadays. I mean, a product can last for 15 years. It can last for 15 months. Maybe not even that long. I think about my wife used to play this like Sailor Moon like mobile game, and it was really popular with like a core set of people. And they spent all the money on it, and they played all the games. They got all the high scores, and the game just went under. And it's like, okay, well now it's just gone. There is no, well, I'll just play it on my own. It's gone now because it was an app on the App Store.
To a certain degree, I understand that. Like, I've spent a ton of money on like World of Warcraft. I'm not playing that right now because of my moral objections to Blizzard's actions. Yeah. But the real crux of all that comes down to, if World of Warcraft went away, or they make an iteration of World of Warcraft that makes it completely different than the disc that I bought 10 years ago, I can't just like install that on another computer. That seems like a waste of money to me.
Yeah.
And it's made it so that if Blizzard ever decides to cancel Diablo 3 or turn off their servers for that, I can't play that game standalone.
Yeah.
Same thing for some other things. So I really have a problem with the way that we're headed as far as like software, the Office 365 platform, all that other stuff. I still have copies of Microsoft Office that work from 5-6 years ago, 10 years ago.
Yeah.
I can install them on any machine that'll run 32-bit software. And while I don't necessarily think that I necessarily should use those programs, I still have the right to do it. And that is important to me. But like some old copies of Windows and some old video games have problems with being able to be to reach out to servers to be able to get their activation licenses and things like that. So really, I mean, on one hand, I understand publishers and software creators need to get paid, and they need to protect their intellectual property, and that is important. But consumers are not businesses, and treating them like a business where they expect to get software on a license basis and they're going to throw it away when they get done with it, that's not the way consumers work.
Yeah.
And
consumer doesn't have a 3-year recycle plan.
Yeah.
That, like, every 3 years I'm going to go and get a new computer, I'm going to go get new software for it, I'm going to go do all that, the average consumer wants to buy their thing and they want to use it, until they find a replacement, if they ever find a replacement.
Well, but I mean, even more than that, if I want to use a CRT until it just falls apart, or a car until it falls apart, that's my decision. I should be able to do that. And a business has reasons that liability and stuff like that. They don't want to do that stuff. I don't need someone to get me into a subscription model where they're going to, in order to still be able to use this thing that maybe I find, essential to my life, power and the internet and things like that are all examples of things where we've had to go to a point that we're almost like, you can't say that people can't have this because they rely on this now to do functions of their lives. Yeah. So, I mean, video games, not the same thing. That's just like a commodity that you don't need. But when it comes down to like being able to have a job or something like that, you need to be able to know how to use certain software. It's become a standard. You need to be able to work within certain operating systems. It's become a standard. And you can find other alternatives sometimes within the open source community that allow you to have it. But bringing it back around to this, if everything's targeted towards being like some sort of streaming platform and taking away your ability to have like books and knowledge, that makes companies the gatekeepers of creativity and knowledge and your ability to do things within the greater world, and you have to pay them a tax to be able to do that. That's moving towards a dystopian future that I don't really want to be a part of. It's kind of like a crazy concept, but we're all in on it. Like, we're raising generations of people that are just in on this. This is great. We're going to do that. That's the way it's supposed to be. I'll pay you $50 to be able to get gems for this game. Yeah. But you need food to eat. You should be paying that money to eat. So, yeah. Do you have anything else you want to say about that?
No, I get what you're saying. There's certainly a level somewhere of where does the line get drawn on what is a necessity in technology and what isn't. And the things that are necessities probably need to be protected, and the things that aren't necessities need to really be thought about as not being a necessity. Because there are plenty of people, we start talking about premium currencies and things like that. I know it's a little bit further off from where the topic started, but I know people. My mother is one of them that's like, oh, I'm going to get these little premium currencies to play my little Scrabble game. And it's like, yeah, but at the same time, you're also talking about how, like, man, it'll be so nice when I sell my house because I don't have to pay that bill. It's like, you could also just stop buying premium currency.
Yeah.
There's... It's that weird run that, like, somehow they found a way to, like, charge, not, like, just for fun, but, like, additional fun.
Yeah.
It's like... and no one squawks at, okay, well, a game should cost money. No one squawks at, oh, I'm going to go see a movie and that costs money.
Yeah.
But now I'm going to pay for the game, and the game's fun, but it could be more fun if I spent more money. And it really is just you're right, almost, maybe not dystopian, but it's just some sort of weird concept that, like, you're paying for fun that like you create. Like, you've bought a fun thing, but it's not fun enough, so go spend more money to make it more fun for a brief amount of time, for you to spend more money later for it to be even more fun again for a brief amount of time.
Well, that plays off the addiction cycle that people can have from the pleasure response. It's the same thing as the Pavlovian response of a dog, and sometimes that's okay if you're able to control that response. But if you get a whole generation of people globally who respond that way, you suddenly have the ability to kind of control them, and that's scary. And it's a very bad thing. It's not. There's nothing positive about that. The other thing I think about it is that, as example, I used to be able to go for less than it would cost for me to get a meal. I was able to go get movie and popcorn, things like that.
Yeah.
Get some gas. Mm-hmm. Now we have a situation where, and we haven't thought about it, but the way that we've allowed inflation to happen.
Yeah.
Because you can't control these things. I mean, China's done it. And other countries do it. The UK has had some things that they've done to control these things, but you control these things. Gasoline was less than 50 cents when I first learned how to drive a car. It's now almost $3 a gallon. Mm-hmm. But I mean, it was always like $1.50 in like a liter in Europe.
Yeah. And
they didn't really do a good job of controlling that. Not that gasoline was necessarily the best, solution to transportation, considering the pollutants and problems like that it causes. But my point is, when you start looking at things where you're like, okay, well, I need a car to get to my job. Mm-hmm. The government doesn't build a proper infrastructure that works in a timely manner to allow me to get from point A to point B. And I'm a poor person, so I have to spend most of my income I have to decide between food and transportation. Yeah. And then you start throwing in, like, allowing companies to do stuff like this, where they can kind of get you into a spot where you feel like you need these things because of some sort of pleasure response situation they put you into. Then you're starting to go down a road that starts getting really dicey, and globally we've got
a problem overall with wage stagnation compared to inflation, and I mean even outside of commodities. We've still got the problem. I know it's the political hot button. I generally don't get very political on these shows, but we've still got problems with minimum wage for most areas. Now, I don't buy into a set minimum wage for everybody, but I think I've mentioned it before. I really don't see why we should allow a minimum wage that's lower than the poverty level.
Yeah.
Because essentially, we're telling some people, hey, maybe, you've got a problem, you can't work in a higher level job, or maybe just, you were kind of born unlucky and never developed the skills to have more than a minimum wage job. And okay, you're going to work 40 hours a week, minimum wage. Or realistically, you're going to work 30 because they don't want to give you benefits. But, you're working the equivalent of full-time at minimum wage. But at the same time, hey, go get food stamps because that's not going to pay you enough not to be in poverty.
Mm-hmm.
So we're just telling the people, I don't want to name any particular company because I don't know what their costs are, but we're going to just say generic grocery store, not Walmart or something.
Mm-hmm.
Just some place that's paying minimum wage is basically saying, all right, I'm going to pay you scraps, but then the government's going to have to subsidize you to be able to live.
Yep.
The idea that we're letting that happen is just always kind of blowing me away because it's you're just double dipping. It's okay, we're not going to make the company hiring the person pay them enough to live, so we're going to need to use tax dollar money to get them back up. And when you're at that point that you're on government assistance, where is your income to be able to invest in yourself to get better?
Yeah, exactly. And if we mandate that you have to raise the minimum wage, then the company starts just charging the consumer for it. So you're especially if they provide a necessary thing. So baby food, it goes from being $1 a jar to being $3 a jar. And then the people that are fronting the cost of the minimum wage increase is not the company, it's the consumer. And suppose that your employee's pregnant and just had a baby, then your employee's back in the same spot that they were before because they're having to pay an increased amount of cost.
Well, there's a lot of economics around that. I'll say that's kind of how I used to think about it. Until I started reading through and looking at a lot of data and a lot of places that have increased the minimum wage to a reasonable level, that generally hasn't happened. You don't see too much increase in the cost of the product. Now, I think it's maybe not the case for when we start talking about places like New York that are saying, hey, everybody's minimum wage should be $15 or $18. I think I've talked about that before too, that that's great for New York City, because that is kind of what you need to live in New York City. That's not so great for rural North Carolina.
Yeah.
That's a good amount of money for a southern state most of the time.
Well, that's exactly what I'm saying. If you talk about across the board, so if we went to the federal minimum wage is what I'm talking about, not state minimum wage. Mm-hmm. If we talk about something like that, someone's going to pay that bill.
Yeah, that's true.
And it's not gonna be a thing where look, we increased taxes and costs on certain companies, and they, instead of hiring more people or giving that back to their employees, where we'll hire more people to offset this thing that's happening, or they started looking in ways of automating stuff. They're we have to pay our employees more. Okay, let's just have fewer employees. So that's the kind of thing that I'm talking about.
Yeah.
We don't want to. We can't raise prices because consumers won't buy our stuff anymore because it's not necessary. So we get rid of the employees, and then that's an absolute fact of things that have happened.
Yeah, absolutely. There's places looking into automation for that, and it'll be interesting to see kind of where that goes. I know they're McDonald's is doing the kiosks and stuff like that, which some people are enjoying and some people aren't. It seems like it's the same way as anywhere else. You got to support your infrastructure. If you're going to swap out for automation for your employees, you really have to have good automation. You have to have people taking care of that automation. When they're not, then it falls through.
But if you're, I guess the question I have is that the way that we think about these, even some of the economic forecasts, they sidestep the idea that if you don't take care of your employees, then you don't have people. It's something that Henry Ford knew, basically. And we're getting off a little bit on the weeds on this. We went from Sony streaming platform, but if you don't take care of your employees, then your employees can't buy your products.
Yeah,
basically is what it comes down to. And if your employees can buy your products, then other people can buy your products. So if we look at shareholder responsibilities and things like that, and I'm an investor in some companies. I want to be able to get dividends, but I don't want to die knowing on my deathbed that somebody starved to death because they didn't have money to live because we automated them out of a job or something like that. I mean, those are like the sort of things that ethically we shouldn't be doing. And we just do some mental gymnastics and just kind of sidestep it. It's craziness, but whatever. We can't live the rest of our lives, I suppose, always policing the bad people.
Well, I mean, these transitions happen constantly. There's always industries dying and new industries being born. The real thing I think that we're not doing, that we need to be doing, is we need to be diverting a lot of our basically like social money, when we start talking about like social benefits, into training.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like there's a big disservice that we do for people that get on unemployment. That's like, well, prove to me you're applying for a job. And it's like, okay, well, I applied for this job, but that doesn't help me if my industry's dying. You know, like if suddenly tomorrow the world's best self-driving truck comes out and it's so good that over the course of next year just nobody drives trucks anymore, you know, it doesn't matter how many jobs that trucker applies for. Like, their industry is gone. They need to be getting training for a new industry. And I think if we embrace that, it would smooth a lot of this over. I think it would fix a lot of the problems with the people that get stuck in minimum wage jobs. You know, there are certain people that are in those situations due to like mental or physical limitations, and you know that sucks. And those people will probably always need to have someone helping take care of them. You know, whether it's like benefits or something else. And I don't think anybody is against that. I think, though, when we start saying, okay, well, you know, you work at a minimum wage, whatever, it got replaced with this, and so now we just expect you to keep applying to that forever. You know, hopefully you get it. If you don't, well, you get so many years of this before we cut you off of this too. You know, that's not helping anybody.
No.
It's costing taxpayers money. It's not doing any good apart from just feeding them. I mean, that's an important part of it. You know, you got to keep that person healthy, but you're not increasing their long-term prospects in any way. You know, I know we've got stuff like Job Corps, which like they do a good job, but we kind of just need that on a larger scale.
Yeah.
I mean, we need an ability to retrain people, because that is what sets humans apart from so many other animals, is how quickly we can learn. You know, we've got a good brain capacity. Everybody's capable of learning. I mean, when X dies, we should be ready to say, okay, well, here's Y, Z, and a couple other letters.
Yep.
Other careers. What are you thinking about? Let's get you trained up. When we start talking about, hey, we've got massive shortages on electricians and almost all of the trades.
Yep.
You know, why aren't we just taking these people that
are that is a completely different thing. There's a whole scam that goes on with journeymen and tradesmen and stuff like that. That for on one hand, there are some reasons that we want to make sure. I mean, like, you don't want your electrician to be like an unskilled, you know, kind of buffoon, but at the same time, there's a lot of stuff there. I think that goes like way off the rails at that point. But so just kind of like bringing us back. The whole reason we started talking about all this stuff, and I apologize for coughing, was that you know, this is how we erode those things.
Yeah.
We buy into something that's like, oh, this will be the most convenient, greatest thing ever, and we sell our ability to have knowledge and our power over our own faculties and over our own things, and end up having it just kind of taken away and frittered away. And this is an example of how that can happen on something that's not very important.
Yeah.
An example of how that can happen on something that is kind of important when it comes to your privacy is smart locks and smart cameras. But instead of you buying them and maybe having a server in your house that controls them, or saying, well, you know, I'll whatever with Google, and we've talked about some of the privacy concerns with that stuff, and sometimes it's worth it and sometimes it's not for some people. But when it comes down to it, what if your landlord installed your, like, when you get an apartment or a house, it comes with you know, the Echo built in, or the Nest or Google Home, you know, Mini, whatever they're calling it, you know, this time, or one of the other services. It's built in by the construction company that builds your house, you own it, or your landlord They put in smart locks and security cameras, but they are going to manage it for you, and they manage it.
No.
Yeah.
No, I'm gonna say it right now.
Crazy.
No.
Right. But that is a trend, especially in larger cities, where there are companies that are trying to market to landlords, especially rent-controlled landlords, where they're saying, you want to catch people subletting your stuff, which, I mean, that people shouldn't be doing things wrong.
Yeah.
So, whatever. But you do want to catch people subletting your stuff. Well, install this smart lock and get the camera, and then you are the person that controls it. So you get the camera feed. You can watch who comes in, and then you can get evidence for whatever you want to present in court when you're trying to evict someone.
Yeah. Just no. I mean, I get it. I know why they're doing it. I know New York and other places have crazy, almost like tense relationships between landlord and tenant. It's just awful up there.
Yeah.
But the idea that I would give someone else the ability to control who enters and leaves my home is insane to me.
On top of that, you're giving them, like, if they just get to spy on you.
Yeah. Like, even if it's just the outside, I mean, that part doesn't worry me as much. It's still bad, obviously. You shouldn't be giving other people cameras into your house. But, like, I'll admit, my home has one of those, like, automatic, like, keypad, like, lock sort of things. So, like, you enter a code in and it lets you in. I don't even like that, because it's like, well, my landlord could just give anybody that code, and then anyone could just undo the deadbolt. Granted, it's still our normal lock, so I keep those locked too. But there's, like, serious security things that just, like, you're letting another person control entrance into your residence.
Yeah. So with that though, that's kind of an analog thing, and if I was given the complete autonomy over that, where I had the keys and I could, because that requires you have the key, and then you can program it with the key and stuff like that. I'm totally okay with that. And the reason I'm okay with that is because it provides a service, and as long as it's secure, there are some security concerns with those types of things, but as long as you're willing to accept those problems, that's an analog entry, and it's not like on some sort of cloud thing that goes back to the server far away.
There's no, hey, someone hacked. Like, imagine you're a big landlord. You own, like, 3 floors on a building. Okay, someone breaks into your house one day. Or you get a phishing email, and now someone has found access to your cloud. Well, that's awesome. I can now just go steal from 3 floors worth of people because I have access
to their homes.
To your little cloud. I was like, I'll unlock building. And, apartment 301, yeah, sure, middle of the night, that's great. I got the camera feeds. I know they're not home.
Yeah.
No, that's insane to me.
Well, so theft is one negative consequence, but then when you're talking about things like murder and stalking, we're opening up an area here where you're allowing people to have so much more access to security. It's already dangerous enough for certain peoples and areas, whether it's globally or just in the U.S. This just seems like a bad idea.
Yeah, I mean, and here's the thing. I don't know how all the different smart locks work. I know yours has, like, a keypad as well. So for at least those, you can let yourself in and out via the keypad. I think about, like, what if I had an apartment in the same building I got an apartment for my mom? Mm-hmm. She's older. She's going to be moving in with us because she needs someone to look after her medically. Let's say, she was supposed to come meet us for lunch. She didn't show up, and it's like 1 o'clock. I better go make sure she's okay. And then Mr. Landlord just says, I don't know who this is. I'm not going to let them in the house. Yeah. And now, like, I can't get to my mother who's maybe having a medical issue.
Yeah, exactly.
There's very few things, I think, are just super unnegotiable when we start talking about privacy and security for homeowners. Every state has their own, like, castle laws and stuff like that. And, like, well, what's the appropriate response if there's someone hanging out in your yard and they shouldn't be, and and all that's really up for debate. I don't believe controlling the ability of who enters your residence is one of those things that's up for negotiation, with a few key exceptions for, like, law enforcement and stuff like that. Cop needs to get in your house. Cop should be allowed to get in your house. Firefighter, says, "Hey, there's a fire. I'm going to bust down your door." That should be okay.
So,
I get that.
I mean, having been there, you can a cop will get in your house if they want to get in your house.
Yeah.
Now, if they need to, I should say if they need to, a cop or a firefighter will get in that house. They have the ability and the tools.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And I'm fine with that. I think that makes 100% sense when we start saying that certain government bodies for your safety should be allowed in because they're for emergency situations.
But they don't need access to a smart lock.
Well, exactly. That's what I'm getting at. The idea that they wouldn't say, well, but also my landlord should have 100% access.
No, that's actually against the law.
It is. My landlord couldn't just stroll into my house right now. He has to inform me he's coming.
They have to inform you they're coming, and they have to make sure it's okay with you because you're the resident. Now, if they wanted to evict you or something like that, they can go through the proper channels and do that, but they can't just go in.
It blows my mind that and I get it. If it becomes popular in New York and then suddenly half the places to live have it, you as a person that needs to continue to live in New York probably do not have a lot of options. I'm not necessarily blaming the people that are renting, but that just seems crazy to me that would be allowed. I'd just move out of New York if I could. If I lived there, I'd just be no, that's not okay. There's too many ways for this to be abused in such negative ways. I mean, there's not a positive here. What is maybe your positive? We're saying, okay, you as the person that owns the building, maybe someone subletting. Okay, yeah, that sucks. Well, that's against your lease. But that's not against the law.
It may be against the law. There are some places that would be against the law, but whether it's against the law or not, what you're saying is for everyone that's not subletting. So let's suppose that 1 out of 5 people sublets. Mm-hmm. For everyone that's not doing an Airbnb, a sublet, or some other variation on that scam, you're punishing 4 people.
Yeah.
For doing, and you're opening those 4 people up to all sorts of technologically insecure,
all sorts of stuff that you can't protect yourself from.
Yeah. And you're relying on their ignorance of what you're doing that they believe that you have their best interest at heart.
Yeah, well, I'm not sure the renters actually believe they have their best interest at heart. I can't imagine anyone think that that's really a super okay thing to do. But I guess what really hits me with it is it's if we take the automated, if we take the secrecy out, if we say, okay, instead of this cool little automation that works through the internet, it is the manual equivalent. Your landlord has hired someone to stand outside of your door 24/7 with a video camera, recording everyone that enters and leaves and opening the door for who they feel like should enter. No one would say that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely not. And I think I think ultimately this is a bad idea from a privacy standpoint. From we generally we're the last 2 topics we went off in the weeds on rights and ethics and maybe some political stuff. But the point of it is, from a technology standpoint, this is even a bad idea because we don't have security nailed down, and there are people out there who would find those flaws and they wouldn't take advantage; they would just report it. But for the most part, there are also a group of really bad actors with great tools that can just bypass all the security protocols that you'd use for this.
Just think about all the time that some X company gets hacked and it's oh, they've got your email address, and it's that's already a huge inconvenience because you get signed up for stuff and they take your email address and they try and find out the password, and then if they find out your password, now they're going to try and log into every bank that exists to see if you have an account there, etc., etc. This gets hacked, you're potentially just going to give people the key to other people's homes. That's way worse. You steal my email address, I'm pissed. You find out someone has stolen all of my house keys and have done it to half the people in my city. That's an epidemic. That's we got to go change all this stuff right now, and
and you can't do it. You can't change it all. It's not physically possible. So
even if you can control it through an API. Okay, well, I'm going to scramble everyone's stuff. Oh, hey, sorry, you got locked out of your house for 48 hours because the system was updating. we had to remove your entry because now it's not secure, or something messed up when we set a new code, or like this happens while your landlord is away,
or it fails open instead of failing shut.
Yeah,
so,
that'd be a whole other thing.
Yeah, so like then you can't lock doors and things like that.
Gosh,
so,
I wonder if it has to. Like legally, can it fail shut? Because
so you don't. Yeah,
situations.
in automation, when things are broken like that, if you don't have if it's completely automated and you have no way like a physical lock on it, has to fail open. Otherwise, by like fire code, you're locked in. Like if it's a mag lock or something, so you want it to fail open.
Yeah. So I don't know. That's crazy.
Yep. Well, so that puts us to the end of Season 2, Episode 18 of the Beer and Broadband Podcast. We're glad that you listened to us this time. We'd love for you to listen to us next time. We've got a Twitter where we tweet things occasionally, not too often. We did just do some brew stuff today, so who knows if we'll put some results on there in our new brewing space. We got some new brewing spaces. That's pretty nice. Maybe we'll talk about that in a couple of weeks once we get the cider that we brewed kind of up and going. So stay tuned for that. And maybe next time we won't have as many downer posts on it, because I felt like this was a very downer thing. Otherwise, thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next time.